This is quite a tragic one, as legendary Marvel editor-in-chief Jim Shooter passed away yesterday at 73 years old. And Jim Shooter was amazing. I mean, just absolutely everything he did was so cool. And he really was an innovator. He really was somebody who drilled down and got the best work out of people. I had some good conversations with Tom DeFalco, who eventually succeeded him as editor-in-chief, and he said Shooter really was great and worked really hard, made him work very hard. Of course, Shooter brought back Steve Ditko into Marvel Comics after Ditko had been gone for a long time, getting a lot of cool 80s work out of Ditko for things like ROM Space Knight and Micronauts and Speedball. You guys remember Speedball? That was during that era. And so he did some cool stuff. And, of course, he's most famous for Secret Wars, the crossover that really just changed Marvel Comics and just became a giant bestseller. And crossing over superheroes became like the standard. He built in a bigger crossover, actually, believe it or not, if you guys remember in the 90s, with Valiant Comics doing Unity, which was an amazing swan song for him at that company. And, of course, the Shooter Valiant era, those first couple of years while he was there, are some of the best comics that are ever made, especially his Dr. Solar Man of the Atom, if you never read the books that he made. Now, he was a Legion of Superheroes guy, did some stuff. He actually created some cool stuff through, I think it was called Defiance Comics, where they actually did comics as trading cards, and you'd have to get the whole trading card set in order to get the whole comic. Really neat stuff. Shooter just really had a vision for experimenting beyond a lot of what people had in comics, and that's why the 80s Marvel really stands the test of time. 90s Valiant really stands the test of time, and he understood storytelling on a level that he really had a vision, and that's what's missing these days from comics. Nobody has an editorial vision. There's a lot of people in there that, of course, they hire all these people based on their identity politics check marks now and things like that. But nobody's out there really driving editorial to make a continuity that matters, where the characters feel like they're changing and progressing. And that's what Shooter had that eventually got lost at Marvel Comics. So let's get into this in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things comics, my friends. And I'm building a beautiful Substack here of comics. So you can sign up for this in the description below. You get a free comic page every single day. I'm putting my back issues out there. We're going to build this and make this huge. And once we get enough critical mass here, we'll start putting out comics of our own. We do have some exclusives already that are shared with my Subscribestar right now. And so this is a good spot to be. I love Substack. It's a good free speech platform and allows you to read my books. Get on here, guys. Start reading. It's all about reading comics and making things great again. I think if you like Jim Shooter's sort of era of comics, if you like the 80s and 90s, you're really going to love my work here. So thank you guys for reading, making this a huge success so far. Get on the JDA Substack. If you want to check out some books, they're in the description below as well. So yeah, I kind of just went over a brief bio of Jim Shooter and the like before, and he started at DC Comics at just 13 years old. Crazy. He sold some stories to them at that point, which is pretty wild, and built up, and of course wrote extensively for the Legion of Superheroes. That's kind of how he got his big comeuppance there, which is the most iconic era of Legion of Superheroes as well. And then, of course, he moved to Marvel in the 1980s, and a lot of what he did beyond the Secret Wars, like teaming with Hasbro, bringing in and building these comic brands with toys, with G.I. Joe, with Transformers, with ROM, with Micronauts. Oh my gosh, I mean, he really upended the comic book industry just by creating these mega bestsellers over and over and over again, and finding the talent that would go with those and do those really the best. And so, yes, this is a man who, everybody should be out there just applauding right now. Of course, he was getting sick in June. On behalf of Jim Shooter, due to health concerns, Jim is pausing upcoming public appearances at this time. So it was known he was getting sick. This is not that far back, but very, very sad on that level. Now, Mark Waid actually came out with what happened yesterday. It just received word that Jim Shooter passed away of esophageal cancer. Oh, my gosh. I can talk pretty. Which he's been battling with for some time. I realized he's been a controversial figure in the past. Game knows game. Yeah, of course, Mark Waid starts off with that, mostly with regards to his managerial style, which was fantastic, honestly. He got the best work out of everybody. In my experiences outside of that realm my lifelong love for his writing began for the first time reading adventure comics in 1967. For those who don't know, Jim broke into comics at 14. 14, I guess it's actually 13. But when I was 14, I could barely put sentences together during a hospital stay. He'd been given Marvel and DC comics. He could clearly see how much more exciting Marvel books were. Couldn't understand why DC's books couldn't have that same vitality. Having no idea how the comic scripts were done, he literally wrote and drew a Legion of Superheroes story on notebook paper, sent it to the editor, who put him to work immediately, having no idea how young he was until later. Jim left comics in the late 60s, returning in the mid-70s to a DC that didn't quite know what to do with him, before moving to Marvel and eventually serving as their editor-in-chief for many years. He launched a succession of long and short-lived comic companies. Over the past few years, he's been making frequent comic convention appearances. And so, good stuff. My meals and conversations with Jim were always genial. Never failed to remind him how inspirational his work was to me, and their storytelling choices and stylistic influences I got from him in nearly all of my work. Good stuff. And so, Jim Shooter, I was actually set to... I was talking with him about interviewing late last year, and I'm really bummed. I've just been so busy building a lot of stuff with Fandom Pulse, with our comics Substack, with running 9 graphic novels, running 2 YouTube channels. I mean, we've got our Discord. We have so much going on business-wise, I just was not able to get to it and kind of follow up with things. And I really would have liked to have that conversation with him, because he was out there recently talking about how modern comics and the modern comic industries, nobody wants to read the propaganda, right? And it is propaganda that's going on in these comic book industries, and I'm so glad that he actually called it out. That having that voice in there with somebody who is has really the breadth to understand. Oh gosh, it looks like my internet went down. how comics have changed over the years, and him talking about just what the modern comic industry's done really means a lot. And of course, it helps our movement as we're trying to build something independently away from what Marvel and DC Comics are doing because of just the destructive path that they've taken in recent days. Mark Waid's, of course, one of those who's been pushing things down that path a lot recently. Who I wish he wouldn't, right? But oh well. That's where they're at. So Jim Shooter, a great guy, and I'm sad I didn't get the chance to interview him. Would have been really, really nice. Definitely one of my heroes growing up, and one of my heroes now for sure. The comic industry could use a bunch of Jim Shooter clones coming out there, kind of like Spider-Man clones. Oh, maybe not. But yeah, I'm trying to add a little lightheartedness here because it's a sad day for the whole comic book industry, of course. And he will be missed, and he will be remembered. And I think I'm going to go back and read some of those Legion of Superhero stories very, very soon. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to grab the comics Substack in the description below. We'll be back soon.